Hello. Had a week off last week. I actually started to make a video, but had some time constraints. I was out of town most of the time, so didn't get around to it. So back to it this week. First, apologies. I'm a little bit, I think, allergies. So my nose is a little bit stuffy and things. So if I sound a little off, that's why. Um, what I want to talk about this week. It's something I've dwelled on in the past, and the reason it's came to light is a couple conversations I've had in the last couple days, and dealing with anger and then the sin side. I want to read two pieces of scripture to you, um, and it's kind of one of those verses that appears twice and actually appears in the Old and the New Testament. So those I always kind of put an asterisk with because you think, okay, if it appears both, it's probably something kind of important. Psalm 4:4, um, be angry and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts on your beds and be silent. And the New Living says, think about it overnight and remain silent. A little bit more kind of real terms. And then if you jump over to the New Testament in Ephesians 4:26, I have it up here on the laptop. Same thing, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. In the New Living, don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. That's verse 27. Alright, so if we dig into this verse a little bit, first thing that I gather, you hear a lot of people say, you shouldn't get angry, you shouldn't be angry, anger's sin, or anger's not good. But this is telling you that be angry, but don't sin. In other words, you're going to get angry. Might as well accept it. Stuff's going to bother you. The way people drive, the way people treat other people, things are going to make you angry. Spontaneous things. Sometimes you can see it coming a mile away. So that's not the issue. And I think what this two verses are really trying to get you to realize is how emotionally we're driven. We're emotional creatures, but it's in that moment that a lot of anger leads to us making a really stupid decision. We say something we shouldn't say. We say something we don't mean. We insult somebody. We mouth off that somebody that really doesn't know us too well hears us, and all of a sudden that's who we are to that person. We're that idiot that can't control their temper, things like that. And the reason this come to light for me is a conversation with a friend of mine over I think it was like age 10 and under soccer. I mean, that's how young we're talking. And if you know anything about young kids at that level playing sports, you know that the parents can be a little bit crazy. But there was a disagreement over a call that was made, and it directly led to one team getting a penalty shot, and ended up winning the soccer game, I think 3-2, the person told me. But what happened was there was somebody there, a family member of the losing team, that actually took a picture of the referee that made the call, made a social media post about the referee, basically calling him a cheater, saying that this team is notorious for getting an advantage, and this and that. So my friend, whose son had the winning penalty kick, uh, didn't take too kindly to that post, basically saying that the team needed to cheat to win. Um, and so there was some, needless to say, things thrown back and forth, comments, things like that. Um, and I was directed to it, so I was reading some of it, and even at one point, both of them kind of took the stance of, you know what, I'm over it. It was like the next day, um, having slept on it, I realized, and it almost just brought the scripture to a full boom. It's like, how often in the heat of a moment do you get upset about something, but then really a day later, let alone a week later, a month later, that thing you were mad about means absolutely nothing. Like, think about when you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off in traffic, or someone doesn't yield for you, or this simplest thing, someone doesn't get out of the fast lane, and we get so enraged by it. And yet, really, when you get to your destination, like a half hour or an hour after you've been there, or 2 hours after you've been at the market, and that, do you really think back and think, oh my gosh, I should have been there 2 minutes sooner? Very, very, ever rarely. If you're really, really running to late, for an appointment or something, yeah, maybe. But 9 times out of 10, we get upset driving. It means no difference. You don't even think about it later. What I'm saying to that is, in the moment when you find yourself getting angry, just really try to take that second to think, is this really going to matter tomorrow, next week, next month? Is it really worth the energy? Because the other thing is, let's face it, when we get mad, we get angry, a lot of times the only person that's really anything coming out of it is yourself. The person you're mad at is probably not, even phased by it. So a lot of times you're getting mad and it's just hurting yourself. In the Bible there it clearly says, first of all it says, go to bed, be quiet. In other words, take this thing, zip it, go to bed, because a lot of times you wake up the next day and what happens? Your emotions are toned down, anger's gone, you're kind of like, it really wasn't that big a deal. Like, I don't know why I was so upset, but okay. I mean, most of the time that's what happens. And in Ephesians, the verse after says, don't give the devil a foothold. Let's face it, in those moments of anger, I used to work in a prison. I used to teach in a prison. And, you get to hear some stories. And, a lot of the guys in there they made one mistake in the heat of a moment. And, sometimes we think that all people in jail, all criminals, are like just wild, crazy psychos. And they're not. A lot of them are regular guys. They just had a moment of sheer just lost control, maybe it was in, I heard all kinds of stuff. Guy walking in on, his wife with another guy, and he just loses his mind and beats the guy to a pulp, and the guy ends up dying. So you get charged with manslaughter, I'm not defending that guy, but what I'm saying is, in that moment, the rage, the anger, just consumed him. We see road rage stuff. You read on the news. People get so upset they run somebody off the road, or pull out a gun at somebody. So in your anger, do not sin. It's the anger is going to be there. You're going to get upset. But how do you handle that anger? How do you respond? Do you take a breath? Do you count to 10? Do you pray? Do you, walk away? Are you easily agitated to where you have to have the last word? Things like that. So what I'm encouraging you to do this week, is first of all, get over the mindset that you're not supposed to be angry. You're never supposed to be angry. That's not biblical at all. You're going to be angry. Jesus got angry. I'm trying to, everyone knows about him flipping the tables, but there's another, it's in Mark. I wish I knew off the top of my head, but it actually, if you break it down, it says in certain translations, he looked at the disciples with anger. It was one of the times when they were like not, they were just not getting it. They weren't walking in faith. They were doubting things, and he looked at them with anger. It says, so even Jesus was angry, but he didn't sin in his anger. Big difference. So I encourage you this week, just find yourself, when you're angry, say to yourself, hey, is this really going to make a difference? Is this really going to mean something down the road? You know, how many times have you heard somebody, there's a grudge, there's something, you know, you're angry at somebody, you don't want to forgive them, you don't want to talk to them, you don't have nothing to do with them, and all of a sudden something bad happens, and you're like, man, that was really stupid. Why am I holding a grudge? Or something like that. It's like really petty and stupid. So that's my encouragement this week. You know, again, it's in both Testaments. Therefore, I think it's kind of critical. In your anger, don't sin. Don't sin. You know, if you find yourself getting mad sometimes, best just go to bed, keep your mouth shut, think about it, pray about it, get it out, give it to the Lord. So that's my encouragement this week. Lots of reading as usual. If you haven't noticed, I kind of changed up some of the things. I'm going to send an email out. But I'll address all that on the site. So, hope everyone's having a great week. Talk to you soon.